Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. His name is Travis Shelton. Hey, Travis, how are you, man?
Hey, good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, that definitely. So let me give our listeners a little bit of your background. Travis is the host of the Meaning Over Money podcast and a professional financial coach, helping families and small businesses do money stuff better. Not necessarily to have more money, but to live a more meaningful life by pursuing work that matters, redefining the role money plays in their lives, and creating impact. He works with a wide range of clients from professional athletes, executives, teachers, and lawyers to business owners, all ready to redefine the role of money in their lives. Travis, definitely, I like that the whole topic about the money aspect, because there's two different things, right? Number one, I feel like the people have a good relationship with money, and then there's the people that don't have a good relationship with money, and hence they have some challenges, right? However, before we dive into that, I wanted to learn more about Travis and learn more about your background and your upbringing, and how was that childhood for you?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for kind of directing us where we're going to go here. I grew up in a small town west of Chicago. So I'm an Illinois kid and grew up in the 90s with the
Hmm.
Bulls. So I was all,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was
yeah.
all, my entire childhood was Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I always thought I was going to play with Michael Jordan. It
Yeah.
turns out I stopped growing in fifth grade, and that dream died quickly. I would say I just had a pretty normal childhood. I had two brothers. We played a lot of sports, and really just we're just boys. We just kind of did boy things in very small towns. So we had a very tight knit group of friends as we grew up. But I would say in general, my childhood was it was good. It was a good, normal, small town childhood.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Um, Growing up, were there any things that, obviously, definitely, I'm with you. I was, I live in Los Angeles, and I enjoy the Chicago, and that was definitely my team back in the day, and I would always watch. I think the only reason why I watched basketball it was because of them. And then when Michael Jordan left and that team kind of disappeared, then I stopped watching to an extent, and then started watching the Lakers. Nevertheless, growing up, what were some of the things that were going through your head in terms of, we have that idea of I want to be this when I grow up, right? Or I want to go through this different path. Did you had any specific things of where you wanted to head in your life?
The thing that I can recall is when I was a teenager, and I don't know when, maybe
Hmm.
16 years old, somewhere in there, I discovered investing.
Okay.
And growing up in a small town, and this was really before the internet was really a thing. I thought it was insanely cool that me, as this one guy living in this small town, could own a piece of Nike, and I could own, a small piece of these really big companies. And that whole idea of investing really hit me at that age. And I don't know how I was introduced to it, but somewhere in my teen years, I always thought, this investing thing is really cool. And maybe I want to do that in my career. And
Mm.
that actually then propelled me when I went to college to become a finance major, because I just was fascinated by this investing stuff. And I didn't really know much, but I thought it was cool. I thought it
Yeah.
was it was a fascinating topic that interested me, and that's what really sent me into that direction in my life.
Got it. Yeah, and talking about investing, and I think you see it more so maybe now just because of all the different things that have happened with the pandemic and all these different elements, right? Where people have found out that perhaps there's a better way of doing things, and again, even now with the internet, there's so many things you can do. I see here you were doing about almost 15 years of real estate investing to an extent. Um, and you were holding a lot of property in terms of portfolio money in that industry. What kind of investing was that specific? Obviously, real estate investing is one of the hottest things that there is now, and I do believe that although it's not for everybody, it is a good wealth vehicle to be able to get some of the things that you want down the line, right? And a lot of people get in it, and then they monetize on that, and then they get out and they do what they're passionate about.
Yeah, and maybe that's kind of the where my I went to college for finance,
Mm,
and I always thought, investing in the stock market kind of was the thing that always fascinated me. And somewhere along the line in college, I received an internship to an amazing company that did, and I was in the real estate area, and they said, "What about real estate?" And I was like, "I don't know, why not real estate?
yeah.
It's why not try it? I don't know about real estate, but it sounds kind of fun." And I fell into an opportunity, and that led me into a career which ended up being 15 years. But in my role, especially in the last half of my career, my job was to cultivate relationships with non-U.S. investors, like Europe and the Middle East. And we were meeting with a lot of the Middle East investors, and we would build relationships, and they would give us money, half billion or a billion or a billion
Hmm.
plus, and my team would invest it in skyscrapers, malls, industrial buildings, apartment complexes, things that big things. And that's really where my career was, investing in very large commercial properties, building portfolios for some of these really large investors in Europe and the Middle East.
Wow, no, that's amazing. And I'm not sure where this might have taken place and for you, and you can definitely give me more on that. Except I do believe that a lot of times, as we're growing and we're doing some sort of investing, or even in our own 9 to 5 jobs, we're always going to be faced with different challenges, different things, right? And I know that for you, you had one of maybe one of your biggest challenges was back in 2008 when we had the
Mm.
housing market crash, or the economy crash, more or less. And during that time, there's that saying, when it rains, it pours, right? You're getting ready to be engaged, and then your company pretty much, just went south, right? Through that financial crisis. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I would say this is probably the turning point in my life. I would say up until that point, maybe youthful arrogance.
Hmm.
Um, I I'd been in my career for a handful of years, and things were going good, and I loved what I did. I worked for a small firm, and they felt like a family to me. It was a city that I'd
Hmm.
never lived in. It was in Kansas City. Loved
Mm,
Kansas City, and I didn't know anybody, and they became family. And over time, met some amazing friends. I bought a house. I found a church. I met a girl, and I knew I had my life figured out. Like
mm.
I had plotted it out, and I was going to go live this life that I had foolishly thought I could dictate. And I walked into work one day, and there was somebody there that I didn't recognize, and they ushered us into a conference room, and I was met with all my other coworkers, and they informed us that the company was going to shut down.
Wow.
And that hit me like a ton of bricks. That was my world.
Yeah.
And and I had been engaged for 3 days.
Hmm.
That wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
And and uh and so I had this moment where I thought to myself, uh-oh, I didn't do this right. And I had done things the way everyone around me told me to. The world says, here's how you handle your finances. And I was a finance
Hmm.
guy. And so I had a lot of debt at that point.
Hmm.
And the world and the finance world too will say, if you have debt and it's at a low interest rate, that's good because you can invest it at a higher return. I'm an investing guy. I know this to be true. So I kind of followed that path. And as I was sitting there reckoning with the fact that I might lose my job, I realized I have 200. I had a house, I had a car, I had some student loans, I had a little bit of everything, but I was normal.
Mm-hmm.
I was normal, and I realized I got a problem. And they went on to let me know that there was a job for me. Everyone else was going to be let go, but there was a job for me. But I had to relocate
Yeah.
to Des Moines, Iowa, and Des Moines fine, but I didn't want to go to Des Moines.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City was my home. That's where my house, my church, my wife, my new fiance of 3 days. That's where she grew up. That's all she knew. But we had this problem,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to go tell my new fiance that her supposedly money smart boyfriend had just ruined or royally screwed up their life. And I would say that night was the most humiliating moment of my life, having to explain to her that I put us in a bad spot. And we had a tough conversation. I shared the story that there was a lot of tears, and I said that on one of my podcasts, and
Mm-hmm.
we made a choice. Our choice that night was we'll move because we have to move. We don't want to, but we have to. We have to do the right thing. We have to pay these debts.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to move, but we're going to do it different. We said, if we're going to do this, we're never going to let money dictate our life ever again. And we're just going to do it different. And we didn't want to live together before marriage. That was a choice that her and I made.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did a long distance relationship. I moved, she stayed, planned the wedding, and did her thing until we got married, and started the process of really picking apart our life and asking what's really important to us, what's truly valuable, what are our values and beliefs. And we really dissected all that, and we ended up on a journey. We paid off $236,000 in 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was a grind, but we did it, and we did it together. And that was a big turning point for us. And something happened along the way. Two things happened. One is, as we were on that journey, we realized, well, the money is not actually what makes you happy. The stuff, the more, doesn't make you happy. And the problem with more is that every time you have more is still, well, it's more. And we realized on that path of paying off the debt that, well, we're happy. We're happy. And it's not the money that's going to make us happy, because we didn't have a lot because we were paying off debt. And we eventually, 4.5 years later, paid it off. And something amazing happened. We actually started to enjoy our careers more.
Mm.
And my career didn't change, but I changed. And something happened where I realized when I woke up in the morning and I got to go to work, I didn't have to go to work. And I realized every day when I go into that office and I serve my clients, that's a choice. And I could choose something different. And just knowing that freed me up to be able to serve my clients and my colleagues the best I could. And it was transformational for me.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of things, and I want to kind of talk more about that. Obviously, you said it was your turning point, and you've learned a lot through that process and that journey. Being able to get rid of that much debt in 4.5 years, that's definitely a huge, right? It's a huge accomplishment. What were some of the things, or maybe habits or disciplines, or how did you went from being in so much debt to reducing that, or eliminating that? Because I can see that many people can be in that place and kind of facing that I don't know what to do aspect, and I have so much debt that sometimes people just kind of give up or don't even know how to handle that. So what were some of the things that you did to help you with that?
I think you're right when you say that people look at it, it's intimidating, it feels like too much, and they say, I can't do it, and they give up. That's one of the things I love about being able to do what I get to do, is to show people, no, you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it was that looking in the mirror and asking ourselves, what's really important to us? What do we truly value? If we didn't know what was important to us, we have no destination. We have no purpose. And so for us, when we looked at what's important to us, what are our aspirations, our dreams, and we had one significant dream. Actually, it was hers, and then I shared it. It was that someday she gets to stay home with her babies. That was hers.
Mm.
And when your dream is in your goal is that meaningful to you and it's that powerful, we can do anything to get there. And it was that powerful for her. She does not care about money. She
Mm-hmm.
says she's allergic to numbers. I've been married for 13 years. I think she is allergic to numbers. And but that goal, that dream was so big for her that it made everything worthwhile. So we had to look at it and say, what's really important to us? The next thing we had to do is we had to figure out in our monthly, the day-to-day living,
Mm-hmm.
not needs and wants, what was important and what wasn't important. And it's not about you don't have any wants. It's about, paying for needs only. It's really about looking at it and saying, no, what's really adding value to your life and what's not. There are some quote unquote needs that don't really add value to our life.
Mm.
And there are some quote unquote wants that do add value to our lives. I think the problem is we look around and we look at all of our peers and social media, we absorb what they think is important and we just absorb it into our life. And I think we all need to take a second and ask ourselves, is that really important? Is it really important to drive that car?
Right.
Is it really important to buy that purse? Is it really important to go on that trip? And everybody has their own unique answers. But I think by default, because everyone else does it, we think we should do it. And that was really the baseline of just reflecting and being introspective about our own lives to figure out what's really adding value and what's not. And then from there, we have to have a plan. And in the financial world, that's budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
And in budget, it sounds terrible. When I even say the word, it sounds terrible. But I love this idea that budgeting doesn't have to suck. And it only sucks if we make a sucky budget. So let's do it right. Let's have something that adds value to our life. And I always say it's not about being controlled. It's about being in control.
Mm.
And getting on a plan and just saying, okay, this month, what do we have? What's coming in? Where is it going? And if we can have control, we can be proactive rather than reactive. And if we can be proactive, we can say, we are going to pay off this amount of debt this month. And it's just one bite, because we have a bigger, it's like you're going to eat a meal. You don't eat the meal in one bite. You eat it one, it's a little bit at a time. And this month is going to be this much. And next month might be a similar amount, maybe more, maybe less. But it's about every month getting a plan and then just executing that plan.
Mm.
But you always have to remember the bigger purpose. Why are we doing this? Because it's easy to say, yeah, I'm going to budget, but when you're and you're going to sacrifice and cut some things and pay off debt. But when you're doing it, it sucks. It's hard. It's exhausting. And you need to go back to, okay, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And understand. And I always like to say too, that everything is a season. And when my wife and I were going through this, we thought to ourselves, this isn't forever. This is just for now. After this is done, life is going to change, and it does. So we just had to remember this is a season, and we wanted to get through that season as quickly as we could.
Yeah. Talk about, I like that, the way you position that. And, I've seen and I definitely can see how sometimes, you go back to the idea of, you see society, you see friends, you see people around you that they might have X, Y, and Z. And so therefore they want to create that feeling of they want to fit in, and therefore they duplicate whatever they might have. And I sometimes seen people that, for a fact, they may be financially challenged, kind of going back to the idea of that car, right? And they're still renting a property or something, an apartment, yet they tend to have a really nice car so they can try to fit in and always have that incorrect mentality. And I do believe that as you mentioned, everything's a season, and money comes and goes. And I always tell people, even in the business of just working, right, becoming an entrepreneur, I always tell people that if you're doing it for profits, you're doing it wrong. You gotta do it for purpose, right? And what I mean by that is that, yeah, money is good and it's definitely gonna cure a lot of different things, except if you don't have, as you mentioned, that why, that purpose behind it, that is gonna be temporary moment of whatever you're gaining, right? And so I do believe, and at least for me, I did notice that when I started and became an entrepreneur, I changed that mindset, that mentality of, you know what, let me do it for purpose, not for profits. And for sure, things started coming out even when I didn't expect that. The second thing I want to talk about is, going through this, you said that you change, right? A lot of things didn't change. You said you change. Um, how, besides obviously creating this disciplined and looking at all these different things, what else about you change? Was it the mindset? Was it the way you saw things? What was it that changed from, within that 4.5 period of time?
I alluded to it a bit, and we can go a little deeper, but I think if I look back at my 20s, maybe my late teens and my early to mid 20s, maybe I was greedy, or I had dollar signs in my eyes or whatnot. But I always kind of thought being successful means being wealthy, and being wealthy means being happier.
Mm-hmm.
And that's societally, it's a societal truth that we just accept, that more money will make you happier. And as I started journeying through this, and there's the whole part where I was in debt, and then there was the part where I got out of debt, and then there's the part where my income started to go up significantly, and I was making more than I ever imagined I would ever make in my life. Through that journey, I'm just being reflective, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not happier than I was before. And if I was, it's certainly not because of the money. And then I was looking around at my peers and the people that I serve, and I was working with some people that had massive wealth. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking to myself, if money makes us happy, and if that's true, this should be the happiest place on this side of Disney World. And it wasn't. People had problems. People had issues. People had stress. People were miserable. People were hurt. And I was just kind of watching this play out. And I started to dig into the behavioral science of money, and the science of happiness. And I found, lo and behold, there's some truths that we miss. And these are controversial takes, I think, but I would die on this hill. What they find is that money makes us very happy until our needs are met.
Mm.
And because if you can't pay your bills and you can't keep your electric on, that's going to hinder your ability to just have a happy existence. So
Mm-hmm.
getting our needs met, very important. And it will increase our happiness to be able to know we can put food on the table and put a roof over our head and be able to have a vehicle we can drive to work. That is important. But what they found is that a little bit after your needs are met, the curve really flattens, and money doesn't make you that much happier. But because the pursuit of getting your needs met made us so much happier, we just assume that more will continue to perpetually make us happier.
Mm.
And that's the part I think we've missed so much in our culture, because every time I say money can't make you happy, and then the response I get on Twitter or Instagram or to my podcast is always, well, tell that to the person who can't pay their rent. And I say, well, no, that's true. When you don't have your needs met, yes, that is true. More will make you happier. And so I think this doesn't surprise you or anybody, but we've lost nuance in this country.
Yeah.
It's all the way over here or all the way over here.
Right.
The nuance matters. And I think that journey that I was taking during that season of my life helped unlock that for me. And really this idea that money is not the answer. More money will not cure what ails you. And in this stage of life I'm in my career, I walk alongside of people that make tremendous amounts of money, that have a very high standard of living, but a very low quality of life.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's the part I think that we've missed culturally, that there's a meaningful life to be had by all of us. And so many, either don't know it exists or they think it exists, but they think it's money that will get them there. And I think that's where my journey took me, that transformed me from the inside out.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Um, One thing that just came to mind, and obviously going through this transition, this journey, um, you actually had a support system, your wife. You guys kind of work on this together. What would be your advice for those that say, "Hey, I don't have anybody. I'm in debt, in a lot of debt, and I don't have that support system. It's really just myself." And that could be challenging by itself, right? I always tell people that sometimes the best journey that we can take is that journey of being alone. Except again, it's a very challenging journey. When you're dealing with relationships or money, for that matter, right? And so, what would you tell people that want to get out of debt, that do not have any kind of support system?
I think this is a really important one because we can't do it alone. I mean, we can, but we're going to fail and we're going to burn out and it's going to be a lonely, exhausting road. Entrepreneurship's the same way, as you probably found out quickly.
Yep.
I did. I thought I had to do it all on my own. I realized, A, I will fail, and B, I don't have to.
Right.
For people that maybe don't have a partner, but want to have that support system, it's really a matter of finding people that will encourage you. Somebody in your life. It can be a mentor. Maybe it's somebody who's already done it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a trusted friend. Maybe it's some other family member. And we live in this society where there's a lot of bad things about social media, but one of the beautiful things about social media is that we are 3 clicks away from connecting with anybody in the world.
Mm.
People can find you. They can find you in a heartbeat. They can find me in a heartbeat. We can connect with so many people. And if there's somebody that you wish to connect with or you desire to start a relationship with, all we have to do is ask. And I think people deep down crave community. They crave relationships. And I think we need to get over ourselves. I'm saying that to myself too, that sometimes we just have to put ourselves out there and say, hey, I admire you. I would like to connect with you, and be humble enough and courageous enough to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think more times than not, people are going to say yes. And so I think if you're on this journey alone, it's about finding people that will encourage you in the behavior that you're trying to mimic. I have clients I have a lot of clients that are single, and I always say, we need to find somebody that's going to hold you accountable.
Mm-hmm.
My accountability is there when I open my eyes in the morning. I'm looking at my accountability. Single people don't always have that. And I always say, we got to find that. And sometimes they'll go find their best friend, and their best friend is certainly not the one that they need holding them accountable in the money world. We need to find somebody that will make you better. And I do believe it's become cliche, but this idea that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so true.
Yeah.
And we need to surround ourselves and find people that will make us better, whether that's money or entrepreneurship. For me, I went and found a friend when I became a dad. I became a dad of twins. And so I knew a guy that was kind of a friend, and he has twins that are now young adults, and they're amazing people. And I went to him and I said, hey man, I need to learn from you. Can you mentor me in this parenting of twins? And so we just meet periodically. I ask him dumb questions, and it's a safe space for me to just be able to bounce junk off of him and get better. Yeah. And I think we all need that in our life, whether we're trying to pay off debt, whether we're trying to build our career, build a business, become a better spouse, a better parent. We need to find that. And I think we just need to start asking.
Yeah. And you know what? I definitely love that. And sometimes we are, the human nature, and I think you see this more on male than females, is that there is that fear of asking, or, if I ask for help, it's going to make me seem like I'm weak. Right. And you see that more on the male aspect than the female. Yet again, kind of going back to your point is, you should ask, and there shouldn't be any macho man on doing that, or being fear of that, because again, you might that asking that question can help you open up doors and or give you more, in your life, right?
Mhm.
So, fast forward, it seems like you went through this major challenge, you overcame that challenge, and let's fast forward about 10 years into the future, and boom, here you are again, get hit with another challenge, right? And again, I go back to that idea that life is a roller coaster. There's going to be ups and downs, and you got to be able to know how to take those hits and be able to recover. And I do believe that there's really no failures. At least I realize that now. There's just lessons, right? Things that you learn
Mhm.
through the process, and going through those lessons or failures, if you want to put them that way, it's a part of growing, and is that part of that journey. A lot of people don't see that. So for you, um, 10 years later, right? You're taking a 90% pay cut to pursue a different path. Tell me more about that.
It kind of connects to the journey we talked about earlier of recognizing that I really screwed myself up, and I
Mm-hmm.
put myself in a bad spot, and I put my new fiance in a bad spot. And as we're working our way through this crap and trying to get to the other side, I'm looking around, and I think to myself, if me being a financial guy, just interests in training, if I screwed my life up, what's everyone else doing?
Mm-hmm.
And as I looked around, I thought to myself, it's what I thought. There's a lot of people that are missing the mark, and people that are making some really bad mistakes. Some of these people know this, and some of these don't. Some of them don't know yet, and they're going to find out later, which is the biggest tragedy. And I thought to myself along the way, I'm like, someday I need to help people do it better than I did it. They deserve better than I gave myself. And I always kind of knew this, but I had this really amazing career, and the
Mm-hmm.
career was getting better and better and better. And so I always thought, I don't know, maybe my late 40s, maybe then, maybe I'll move and do something different. And I just felt this call. I'm a faithful person, and as a Christian, I believe that we're uniquely called,
Mm-hmm.
and there just was a call to me that I just felt this tug, and I'm just like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And I just felt this pull to do something that I need to do. And my wife was about 2 years ahead of me, and she kept saying, well, it's time, it's time, it's time. And I'm like, it's not time. No, I still have more to accomplish over here. And
Right.
eventually I just couldn't ignore it anymore. And in 2019, I was almost 38. I left my career. We had two toddlers at home. My wife stayed at home full time with them, and I left that career. I resigned, and my family took a 90% pay cut
Wow.
for me to start start over essentially, and starting in terms of walking alongside of people and families and businesses on the coaching and consulting front, writing and speaking, and then eventually the podcast. But that was hard. It was a hard journey. It was a hard decision to make. It was harder to execute. And I've had people ask me in the season since, and they'll say, how do you feel about having made that shift? And I said, and I always say this, it was way harder than I ever imagined it could have been. And they said, would you do it again? And I said, I would do it sooner. I would do it faster. I would do it more confidently. Being hard doesn't make something bad. Sometimes the challenge is part of the journey. And for us, as we reflect back on our experience, we would confidently do it again, because we knew we were stepping into where we were supposed to be. And I always ask people, I ask clients that when I speak, I always ask this question, and I want people to start thinking, when you wake up in the morning, are you A, excited for what you're about to do, B, dreading what you're about to do, or C, indifferent towards what you're about to do? And I believe that there is a life for all of us where we get to wake up excited for what we're about to do. Not that
Mm-hmm.
what we're about to do is fun, not that what we're about to do is easy, but that it moves the needle for us, that it provides purpose and meaning. And when we get done with our day, we're fulfilled. We know that we made the world better. I think that's for everybody. And that's not me saying everyone should leave a 9 to 5. That's not it at all. Some people, their best is a 9 to 5. For some people, it's just a different 9 to 5. Some of it might be the 9 to 5 you're in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really about waking up every day knowing that you're going to live your best life today.
Yeah.
And I think that matters. And so as I reckon with the acknowledgement that financially, I never would have had to worry for the rest of my life, ever, to a life where there are months where I'm figuring out, are we going to be able to pay all of our bills?
Mm.
That's a legit scenario that can play out as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go back. I just wouldn't.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because I went to, when I left my 9 to 5, and I'm not sure if you got kind of the same feedback. I had a pretty good 9 to 5 job, was getting paid pretty good, going all over the place. It was a really good job, and even to this day, I would say it was a good job. It was probably one of the best jobs that I had. Nevertheless, I felt that there was more for me, and there was more that I can contribute, not only to my life, to those around me. And then that's where I started doing more of this entrepreneurial journey. And one of the things that I got a lot was, are you dumb? Are you stupid? Like, why would you leave that for this? You went from this very secure job that, you have a really good career, to this unknown. And so obviously, I kind of took my leap of faith around the same age as you did, around 38 or so. And, that's a very risky thing to do at that age, right? And a lot of people would not do that just because of, you're getting too old, or, whatever the case may be. Or what about if it doesn't work out and then you want to come back to the industry? Now you're going to be too old. Nobody's going to want to hire you, because they're going to want to get the people right out of college, right? And those are things that were going through my mind, and people were telling me that. Except, again, similar to you, is I wouldn't do it any other way. And if I could have done it sooner, I would have done it sooner, right? Yet I guess my question to you on this is, what's your advice? And you kind of touched on it a little bit. Everybody is in a different place. Some people, are meant to be in their 9 to 5. That's what they enjoy. Great, right? Except, again, recognizing and realizing the major risk that you took, because it was a major risk. Although I think it was a calculated risk, which is different than just a regular risk. You took a major calculated risk at that age, to say, you know what, I'm going to pursue this calling. I'm going to pursue this thing that I know that I need to do in this lifetime. What is your advice to those people that might be thinking, I'm too old, I shouldn't do this, there's a lot of unknowns, I get all these people talking, around me saying, you're crazy, you're dumb, all of these different things. What would be your one advice to that, to say, if that's what you want, go ahead and go after it?
I call this the on my deathbed test.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask myself, if I'm on my deathbed, hopefully a long time from now,
Right. Yes.
and I look back at my life, and at this moment, this decision, am I going to regret not having more money? Or am I going to regret not doing the thing I knew I was supposed to do? And I think if we're honest with ourselves, we're never going to be at that point in life, look back and say, I really wish I should have went for it. I should have tried. I should have at least found out. And regret is the most poisonous toxin. Regret will eat us from the inside out. And you mentioned making mistakes. Man, I make mistakes so much.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd rather live with a mistake than live with a regret.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not going to stop making mistakes. I can't control that. I can try to get better, but I'm going to make mistakes. But I don't really want to live a life of regrets. And that's not to encourage people to be foolish and to be reckless. I don't think that's what that means, but rather to put money on one hand, put money on one, put meaning on the other, and ask yourself, what's really important? And I make the argument that if we pursue money, you might find it. I work with a lot of people that have a lot of it. And so you may end up with a lot of money. If you pursue meaning, you're probably going to find it. You may find money there too, but you will find meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And I will take all the meaning over all the money any day of my life, because I've had both. I've had both. And some people are like, well, test me. Test me. I want to find out.
Yeah.
And that's okay. If you want to find out, find out. But for me, my encouragement to people would be to ask yourself that question. Looking back, which choice would you regret?
Yeah, definitely. Travis, where can people find you if they want to connect with you, learn more about the things you're doing? Where can they find you?
First and foremost, the Meaning Over Money podcast. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find me at TravisShelton.com. And then all the social media places you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find Meeting Over Money on TikTok as well. So that's about it.
Nice, nice. So let's talk about what is it that you're doing now. You're obviously helping people find the meaning of money in a different aspect, right? Tell me more about the type of clients that you have. Who do you work with, and what is it that you do in your niche now?
I would say, if I can define who would want to work with me, I would say it's anybody who recognizes that there's more to this life than status and money. And sometimes, and what it often looks like, it's a lot of 20 somethings. And I think that's a cool thing about this generation. We like to rag on the younger generation. I think they're an amazing generation. I think they inherently know that meaning is more important. That's why we're having some trouble in the labor markets.
Yeah.
Because ultimately there's people that know there's more to life than the money. And I have a lot of opinions on why this generation is wired this way. We don't have time to do that probably today, but I think a lot of 20 somethings really gravitate towards this message, because I have people that DM me all the time and they'll say, Travis, the things that you're saying, I'm thinking, but nobody else is saying this. And I feel weird that I'm thinking it, but you're verbalizing what I feel like I know to be true. Mm-hmm. And that is, that's the best feeling, to know that we're connecting these dots. And then I would say I work with a lot of 40 somethings. And I work with 40 somethings, and it's weird. I don't work with a lot of 30 somethings. And my perspective on this is that a lot of 30 somethings still believe more is the answer. They're just getting into like the really good part of their careers. They have enough experience in relationships and equity within their companies, relational equity. They're propelling into new worlds for themselves in their careers. A lot of people in their 30s still believe money is the answer. Mm-hmm. But what I then see is I meet with a lot of early to mid 40 somethings, and they've had tremendous amounts of success. Some of them make 5, 6, 7, 800,000 a year. And they've been there, and they're saying, Travis, there's still something missing. I don't know what it is, but I feel like we can find this. And so for me, it's when people decide that there's more than this money and status of careers, those are the folks that gravitate towards me. And it's a pleasure to serve the people that want better.
Got it. And the type of service that you provide, is it personalized by person? Is there a specific time frame? How does that work?
Everything is tailored to the client. Okay. We do a lot of one-on-one work with individuals or couples. I do a lot of work with businesses, but it's really meeting people where they're at. And some people that come to me, they're just out of college, they have a ton of debt, and they want to get out of debt, and we'll do that. Mm-hmm. Some people don't have any debt, but they don't understand all the other pieces. And so we help them put the pieces together and help them understand there's a better way to invest, and there's a better way to do some of these things that we're not talking about culturally. And then there's a lot of people that they feel there's something else for them. Get there. Maybe it's a different job. Maybe they're going to start a nonprofit. Maybe they're going to start their own business, but they know there's something else, and they don't know how to get there. They don't know how to unlock that next phase for them. And we just meet people where they're at to go where they want to go. And I always say, when I meet with somebody for the first time, I always say, my job's not to tell you what to do. My job is to help you see things through a different lens and give you opinions. I always have a lot of opinions,
Mm-hmm.
and then let you make whatever decision is best for your family. And once you do that, I want to help you get there because it's your life and your journey. It's not my journey. It's not my
Right.
life. So everyone's different. And it's just a pleasure to be able to walk alongside of people as they go where they're called to go. And every journey is so unique. And that's what makes it special, is that
Yeah.
this isn't about dollars and cents. It's not about bank accounts and net worth. It's about helping people unlock that truly meaningful life for them.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I have two more questions for you before I let you go. Definitely, you've gone through a lot of lessons throughout your life. You've learned so much, right? Um, and I do believe that that comes with a lot of disciplines. Tony Robbins refers them to rituals or habits. Do you have any daily habits that you do on a day-to-day basis to help you through your day-to-day journey?
For me, I think it's having to have a high self-awareness of our defects, if I could call them defects,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding where you're going to come off the rails, and knowing it, and then trying to prepare against it. And for me, and I talked with my assistant Paige about this a lot, that I want to serve people. And when somebody wants me to help, I want to help. I'm so grateful and honored that somebody wants me to help. So having people around me and structure around my life, that I try to keep healthy balance and boundaries with my time, and making sure that I'm not saying yes to everything that comes my way. And it's really about the self-assessment of, what do I need? Sometimes the best decision I make is the thing I say no to, because if I say yes to everything, my yeses don't mean as much.
Mm.
And my clients deserve better from me. And the people that I speak for and write for, they deserve better from me. And so for me, it's about setting those boundaries and having people in my life be really honest with me. And my assistant Paige, she will be brutally honest with me and say, Travis, I think you made a mistake. You shouldn't have been willing to do this thing that you just said yes to. And learning from those mistakes, as you talked about, learning from those mistakes. But for me, it's about boundary setting and understanding and having that self-awareness every day of where our wiring will send us in a counterproductive way.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I love that. My last question for you is: you've already given us a lot of great tips and a lot of great nuggets. For the people that are listening to us, if they're going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what would be one advice that you can give them that they can start doing to start overcoming that challenge?
I have two. Can I give you a little two-pronged?
Yeah,
Uh,
give me
uh,
three.
I would say, find people to support you in the challenge. Don't do it alone. Doing it alone is terrible.
Yep.
Find somebody that will share in this with you, that can be there when you can't hold yourself up anymore. Have somebody there that can hold you up until you can. And then number two, always remember, it's a season,
Mm.
and we can get through anything if it's for a season. And we've had my wife and I, we've had some just tragic things in our lives, and there are days when you don't know if you're going to make it through, but you have people to hold you up when you can't, and there's an end.
Mm.
And that's the only way we got through some of the stuff in our life. And I think that's it for me. It's just,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah. No, I love that. I definitely love that. And you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes we forget that things are temporary and they shall pass, except sometimes we don't think of that and we just focus so much on the challenge that we think is never gonna end. So I definitely love that. Travis, again, it was such a pleasure having you here today on the show. Really appreciate our conversation. Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
I just want to say thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
it's an honor that you would trust me with your audience, and I hope people find some value in our conversation, and I'm just grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Really appreciate it. And definitely for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Go ahead and listen to Travis's podcast. Go ahead and follow him on social media. Connect with him. You just never know the information that you can get out of his program. And do me a favor. Share this message because definitely somebody needs to hear this message. And I'll see you guys at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.